Hello, bookish friends. Welcome back to Amanda's Bookish Adventures. And it is day 13 of Bookmas, my October wrap up. So, in the month of October, is anyone going to be surprised by this? I only read digital. And majority of the time, only read while I was at work. I'm not playing, or I would read a couple pages before bed. So, I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the majority of those was manga. Oh well. So let's talk about it. So if you watched, I think it was the September, I don't remember which specific date it is on, the September wrap up of Bookmas, I talked about the the hold on, what's the name? Time Stranger Kyoko. And I read the first 2 volumes in that wrap up. I finished off the series in October, and that was the first thing I read. And because it's the third book in the finale, I won't get into it, but I did give that 5 stars. And then I reread a graphic novel that I checked out at the library a long time ago, and then on Kindle sends me sales, and I bought Fangs by Sarah Anderson for 99 cents in October. So I reread that. So Elise the vampire is 300 years old, but in all the time, she has never met her match. This all changes the night in a bar, where she meets Jimmy, a charming werewolf with a wily sense of humor and a fondness for running wild during the full moon. Together, they enjoy horror films, scary novels, shady strolls, fine dining, though never with garlic, and a genuine fondness for each other, others' unusual habits, and a mockery of lifestyle monstrous appetites. It was first featured as a web comic series as Tappa and Fangs chronicle the humor, sweetness, and awkwardness. It's the deluxe. Oh, that's it's a deluxe edition where it talks about the sprayed edges and everything else. I really had such a fun time. I'm just gonna hold this. Rereading it. Elise and Jimmy were very fun, and like they meet in an organic way. They talk about their life, her being a vampire, how she turned into a vampire, him being a pack. You see with the graphic novel the phases of the moon, how their relationship is kind of realistic, and how Jimmy's friend teases him like, "You say you have a girlfriend, we never see her," and then you see them like walking and they have like cute little conversations, and I gave it a 4 star. And the first time I read it I gave it a 4 star, but I'm happy to own it because it is something I will most likely reread. I don't know why the screen went black. I have the thing that's supposed to the clamp that's supposed to keep the screen on, and no, don't do that. Undo. I accidentally exited to the this is the last manga series I read in October, but it's The Person I Asked to Love Asked Me to Die in My Sister's Stead, and I read volume 1 through 4, and I gave each one of them 4 stars. Lady Wistaril's greatest wish is to be worthy of the man she loves, Lord Bright. But when Wistaril's little sister, Rosalie, is selected to enter the pre-dawn realm as its guardian, never to return, Bright begs Wisteria to take Rosalie's place. After all, Wisteria is skilled with magic and resistant to the sinister miasma that threatens the mortal world. Heartbroken, Wisteria enters the pre-dawn world, accompanied 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 uh I don't know why I can't say this. A sword accompanied her. It's accompanied by, or as close as I'm going to get tonight, by the sacred sword Sartis. More than 20 years later, Strange with a familiar face appears demanding the sword and challenge Wisteria. Who is he and why does he resemble Lord Bright? So she has been friends with Lord Bright since she was children, and her sister Rosalie. They kind of all grew up together, but what it doesn't say is Wisteria is adopted. So she has pressure automatically. She's kind of the older sister. Technically, she is kind of the heir because they adopted her because of her magic ability. And the sisters kind of had like frail health and things like that. But she's loved Lord Bright because she was a commoner, and he suffers with not having any magic. So everything she did was to, with the job force she joined and everything, was to help him and to finally confess to him. And she sees that he fell in love with her sister. And when the authorities come from the castle to basically say you were the one chosen, they're obviously, the family's devastated, but the parents, her adopted parents, who have been her parents her whole life, are angry, and they're saying the same thing. Lord Bride is like, it should be you, it should be you. And finally, after she was trying to find a solution, she broke down and made the choice. It really wasn't, because she did everything for that family and everything for Lord Bright. It broke like the final piece to her. Like, she was in tears. Like, she said yes, of course, when the man she loved since childhood asked her to do this. So she's in this world where she has to purify a tree, or demons will come into our, or well, not our world, but the world originally comes from. A sacred sword accompanies her because he knows she's doing a great sacrifice, which leads Lord Bright's son, I wish it said his name, I'm not going to look up his name, to come, and because he's on a quest for a princess's hand from that king who sent her there 20 years previous. He has to get the sword and bring it back from that realm to win the princess's hand. Now, because her sister, or adopted sister, married Lord Bright, they their son has a very complicated history with magic, because once she went into the realm with Syria, they made basically lied and said she stole the sacred sword. There were awful rumors about her, and people who worked with her and like truly knew her tell Lord Bright's son that to bury her because they assume she's dead. After 20 years, people normally don't last that long, and they're technically thinking like, if you find her, bury her, please. We want her to have a final resting place. The son doesn't know why his father's so ashamed of magic. Yes, him being bullied by nobility and things like that, and him not having magic, to his son being like one of the most powerful knights plus mage, and he feels like he's bragging, and it includes like how he basically challenges her, the story of finding out, and he keeps pushing like, why did you end up like, mom won't tell me, my dad won't tell me. But she's been by herself with that sacred sword, fighting demons, learning about this world, and she gets very triggered when he comes and she sees his face. And she takes him on as an apprentice to train and things like that. I do believe there will be a fifth volume. I don't think it's going to end the way it did. I overall enjoyed all of them. It was, I think it was sad too, because of the aspects of, yes, she did all this and sacrificed all this, and then basically society kind of condemned her and like made her a villain when she wasn't. The people who should have loved her, who adopted her for her magic, should have it like, it was great to read it, but I felt very heartbroken for Wisteria. And plus, like, it's very dark. Her 20 years spending all that time with the sword fighting the demons has definitely changed her. So I definitely recommend that manga series. They were all 4 stars, but I still had such a great time with every single one of them. So the next thing, oh, hold on. The next thing I read was for day 3 of Bookmas. It finished out the vlog. So sorry, we got interrupted. So this next book is from Bookmas Day 3. So I'm not going to go much into it because I do talk a lot about my thoughts in that blog. We read Slaying the Holidays by Beatrice Hollow and Lux Olander. And then the funny thing is, I did not know two authors wrote it. Like, I could definitely tell after I read it. But on Amazon, it says Lux, but on Orlando, but on Goodreads, it says Beatrix. So I don't know why it doesn't say both their names, but here we go. When I said get a new hobby, I meant kayaking, not decking the halls with garlands of gore. My newest therapy client is the definition of a DILF. He's distractingly handsome. Face is all to blame for my mess up. If this wasn't bad enough, I'm practically stalking this murderous golden retriever. Can he hear me arguing for pottery classes over the electric carver, or is it a bone saw? My mistake. Merry Christmas. I'm getting myself an accessory to murder. After a helpful talk with my beautiful divorce therapist, I decided to get into manslaughter. Maybe it's not the hobby she had in mind, but the idea has always interested in me, and there's plenty of predators I'd love to turn into prey. What do you know? My therapist was right. I do feel better. She seems a little ethically confused and personally concerned. She's even cuter, grumpier, and uh, expert or aspirated. We make the perfect couple. If she'd stop threatening to call the FBI. So I did give it, like I said, 4 stars. It only ended up being 146 pages. I could have, from the two novellas I read in that blog, in my opinion, they could have been bigger. Which is why for the next dark Christmas romance Christmas vlog, I am definitely going to try to find something bigger because I don't think it was enough. Between those, I wanted more backstories. I wanted a lot more, but I still enjoyed it enough to give it 4 stars. Then I read this one was probably the biggest thing I read in the month of October, and I had plans for October that really just did not work out. So, Captured by the Chulutha, A Monster Mates Romance by Ivy Sparks. Now, this series is kind of very interesting. The first book in the series, I gave a 3 star. The second book in the series, I gave 5 stars. And after the first book, I was not going to read it, continue on, but I fell in love with the second book. This one I gave a 3 star. I do think I will continue on. I think either either book might be a hit or miss, but overall I do enjoy the experience. You think my biggest problem as a lighthouse keeper would be drunk tourists? Yeah, no, it's actually the infuriating hot Chalutho who decided I belonged to him. Cape Tempest has a history written in sea monster blood. So when I discover a wounded Chalutha in my boathouse, I know I should run. Instead, I tend to his injuries. I didn't realize helping Roic would earn me his eternal devotion and protection, and I especially didn't expect him to thank me with sensual worshipping. Letting him stay risks my place in town. But the thing about Chaluthas, once they get their arms around something they want, they never let go. The good thing about this series is you can kind of read it out of order because they're standalones. They're not connected. And I did enjoy aspects of this, especially like how old the Roic was and like the history of the town. I honestly felt like for the one I really loved that was in a previous bookmas wrap up, this one felt way insta lovey, and I think most of her monster romances in the series is insta lovey, but this one was just like way there was no like trying to court, it just automatically happened. I did have a good time. I thought they were fun characters. I enjoyed the town, and I enjoyed expanding into the lore of the world that Ivy Sparks has created. I can't wait to see how I feel about the next one that I checked out from Kindle Unlimited. But overall, it was a good book. The next thing is I read a novella. I think it's this one. So I pre-ordered this novella. The thing is about pre-ordering books I can always keep track of. I can't keep track of my Kindle pre-orders. So I saw this on probably an Instagram ad. Instagram is making me broke. The ad system knows me very well. So it's called Statues Crumble, a Sapphic Medusa novella. There's another one I saw that just got released too that kind of I'm really interested in reading it. So I'm going to see if I can get it through Kindle Unlimited. But this one, they call her a monster. She calls herself a curse. For centuries, Medusa has hidden among the ruins of her own making, haunted by the stone faces of the ones she's loved and lost. Alone is safe, alone is penance, until a stranger, stubborn and wholeheartedly afraid, steps into her temple and refuses to leave. She brings her wavering she steps into her temple and refuses to leave. She brings her wavering and quiet laughter, her steady hands that treat even the snakes with reverence. She asks for nothing, and doing so, she unravels everything Medusa thought she knew about herself. But desire is dangerous and trust so more. As two women grow tangled in each other's lives, the women become more than a quest. And Medusa must stay buried in the past or finally lay her ghost to rest. A story of grief, gods, and the fierce tenderness that makes us want to live again, even when the world has called us unworthy. I liked her take of Medusa's story because if you know mythology, especially this mythology, you know Medusa was raped by Poseidon and then punished for it by technically I think it's Athena, but I think it kind of depends on who does the retelling, but I think she was punished by Athena, that she was a priestess in Athena's temple and she was turned into a gorgon and the snakes, her eyes, blind men. Let me see if it says the name of the love interest. No, it doesn't, and it's been a while since I've read it. So, the woman who lands on Medusa's shores, because when you land on these shores, you are a criminal from this society. And to get pardoned for your crime, you have to kill Medusa, and she has a statue garden, of course. Her crime was she didn't cry when her abusive husband that she did not want to marry at what died. And basically the society casted her as a witch, blinded her, and she survived Medusa's curse. So they fall in love, and it's only really 206 pages. I loved it. It was 4-star, but I love reading Medusa's lore, and I will always support Medusa. She's not, in my eyes, and I know technically in a lot of, like, if you go back to Percy Jackson, she is like a villain. But, like, as I've aged and like I've learned the true lore of it because I never really knew the lore of Medusa. It kind of means a lot more to me, and I don't villainize her. So I like retellings of Medusa, and I tend to buy them pretty quickly when I find a new one. So, because I have a physical edition of a sprayed book coming that's getting released sometime in November. That should be in one of these bookmas. Logs, like I said, as before I ramble, Statues to Crumble by L.V. Brooks. 4 stars, and I actually really want to read more by this author. So the last thing I read was a novella, and I did shorten the book cover because I don't think it's highly appropriate. I think I would get flagged for it on YouTube. So this was right after Medusa. This thing was like if you like this, read this, and I did, and I ended up giving it 4 stars for 77 pages. I think it's like a small, like spicy little novella series. I enjoyed it, but I think, like I said, things could be longer. A lot went in it, but I do like it. 18-year-old Lady Eleanor has lived her life behind stone walls, stitched smiles, trained to be the perfect daughter, the perfect noble, the perfect bargaining chip. But when her longtime servant retires, she finds herself face to face with her replacement. So I'm going to butcher it with my dyslexia, Isidore, a woman whose hands are skilled as her tongue is bold and whose gaze lingers far too long. What begins as quiet tension spirals into glances, midnight touches, and a forbidden passion neither of them can control. But love is dangerous in a world ruled by men. When Eleanor is sent to treat with a rival lord on her father's intends her to charm, bed, and possibly wed. Duty and desire clash in ways she never imagined. It's only 77 pages and it is in Kindle Unlimited. I'm trying to be like very cautious with what I buy because I don't think I would ever reread it. Like I would go on and maybe finish the series, but I don't think personally I would buy it because I'm not saying it's a waste. Maybe like if she did a bind up of it, the author, that I would definitely buy that and then have like a big collection where I could go through the stories again. I found it worth reading at the time and I will probably most likely continue on. I think because it was short, this could have realistically been 146 pages and it could have been a 5-star. I enjoyed the writing. I'm definitely going to continue on with the author, but I think it's translated. The more I'm looking, this might be a translated fiction because there's reviews on Amazon that I believe are in Spanish. So this is might be translated, which is actually, I'm not saying it makes sense, but that's kind of cool. So I I just counted earlier at the beginning of this video how many things I read. I'm going to gloss over that. So my lowest thing I read was a 3-star. Highest was 5 stars in the month of October, but majority of things read were 4 stars because we have 1 3 and 1 5 and the rest 4. Total pages read is 1,647 or 97. I don't know why it's 47, it's 97. So that is it for the day 13 of Bookmas. I don't know why I want to say October because it is October's wrap up, but I was going to say a project I didn't do this year that I might do next year. I hope to see you on day 14, and if you read any of these books or you have some good recommendations, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below.